Move on to race 299. This is heat 4 of the Schoolboy Cox quad. In lane 2, we have Xavier College. In lane 3, we have Ballarat Clarendon. In lane 4, Redlands. In lane 5, Gippsland's Grammar. In lane 6, Radford College. And in lane 7, Pulteney Grammar School.
So 3 to go through from this field of 6 in race 299, the 4th and final heat now of the Schoolboys Cox 4, and it was Redlands, our race leaders, at the halfway mark, and indeed at the 500 metre mark as well. Not a great deal of change. The order as they came through the second 500, and looks still to be the case now as they come through the 1500 metre mark. Redlands are well clear, 4.24 seconds away from a very good battle for second and third. Gippsland Grammar and Pulteney Grammar separated by just 0.19 of a second, and then Xavier College in 4th place with a bit of work to do if they're to move through to the semi-finals directly.
Yes, it looked like a bit of a battle here for second and third place from these two boats. They're going stroke for stroke, almost, bow boy to bow boy at the moment.
So the Redlands crew is Mitchell Simpson, Max Durant, Alec Price, Alexander Holtoyer and Alex Coney. And they've certainly got a comfortable lead. But the battle is out to this side towards the grandstand. Gippsland Grammar in lane 5 and Pulteney Grammar in lane 7. Continues to be Redlands who lead. Gippsland and Pulteney should both go through. The only real threat is Xavier over on the far side of the course as well, who is sitting there in 4th place. Radford College of the ACT, linked or two further back in 5th, and then Ballarat Clarendon will be in 6th place. But it's certainly Redlands maintain this comfortable lead from Gippsland Grammar and also Pulteney Grammar. And our leaders come inside the Red Boys now of the final 100 metres.
So it's Redlands from Sydney. It looks like Gippsland coming in second and Pulteney from Adelaide in third. Redlands by just over a boat length, followed by Gippsland, again a boat length, and Pulteney from Adelaide finishes third. In lane 2, the boat from Xavier finishes. And then we have finally Radford.
No bow number there on the Radford College crew, who'll finish 5th, and Ballarat Clarendon also still coming home down lane 3 in 6th place. So qualifiers there from 3 states. It looks like Redlands from Sydney, Gippsland Grammar of Victoria, and Pulteney Grammar coming from South Australia, the top 3. And that unofficial result, I think it's gone off the screen already, but it was Redlands confirmed there in front. 6:40.22, the winning time there, the unofficial winning time in 3.11 seconds. And we move on to the 8th, Nathan, with the first heat of the Schoolgirls Cox Date on the water.
That's right, first heat. The first 4 will progress through to the semi-final. In lane 2, we have MLC from Kew. In lane 3, St Hilda's from Western Australia. Lane 4, Melbourne Girls Grammar. Lane 5, Collegiate. Lane 6, Geelong College. Lane 7, Scotch College, Adelaide. And in lane 8, Seymour College.
Always great racing, the schoolgirls and schoolboys 8s. Of course, the finals of these two events precede the interstate regatta, so these trophies concluded right at the business end of the regatta. But big entries in both events this year. If I recall correctly, last year the boys 8 I think was a straight final, but this year there are 3 heats in both the schoolboys and the schoolgirls 8. So we'll have these heats and some closely contested semi-finals on Saturday as well to work out our 8 finalists.
And passing through 500 metres, there's nothing in this race. The first 4 crews, it looks like Seymour College noses in front from Geelong by 0.04 of a second, followed by MLC and Kew and Collegiate, and a second, just over a second, separates the first 4 boats. We have Scotch College, Melbourne Girls Grammar and St Hilda's following up. But a close race here.
And it is, yes. St Hilda's from Western Australia in this race on lane 3, not to be confused, of course, with St Hilda's from the Gold Coast, who we've seen in a few previous events, but they're a fair way off the pace, that West Australian crew at this stage. Our leaders right over on the far side, the MLC school from Kew in Melbourne, who lead it by 3.5 seconds almost from the Geelong College in second place. Scotch Adelaide are third. Seymour College also, I believe, from Adelaide there in fourth place. Then Melbourne Girls Grammar School Collegiate and St Hilda's of Western Australia.
Yeah, a bit of a move there from MLC between the 500 and 1,000 metres, pulling out almost a boat length there. But it's still going to be very tight for second, third and fourth place. Geelong College still holding that second place. Scotch College in Adelaide in third. And Seymour now in fourth.
So with 3 heats of this event, the top 4 will move through to the semi-final. So plenty to fight for around about that third and fourth position mark. And it's pretty close between Scotch Adelaide, Seymour College, and Melbourne Girls Grammar School in running there as well. But they're back in fifth at this stage. And then further back, Collegiate and St Hilda's with the job in front of them, those 2 crews. But it's MLCQ on the far side of the course, pretty much with that part of the course themselves. And then a great battle on this side. It will be in front of the grandstand as they get a bit closer. Lane 6, 7 and 8. The Geelong College, Scotch College Adelaide and Seymour College as well.
And with racing this close, coming up to the halfway line, it'll really be hurting now. These crews very close. We have MLCQ still in the lead in lane 2. They're pushed out slightly.
They're out of shot there completely, aren't they? MLCQ have cleared out.
That's right. Geelong College in second. 6 seconds over a boat length behind. Scots College eked a lead out there from Scotch College. And Seymour again in fourth in lane 8. But we've had a strong push from Collegiate, who are now back into contention, who are only 1.9 seconds behind Seymour College. So all to play for here. It will really start to be hurting the lungs and the legs now. These crews in close contention will be eyeing each other over the shoulder. It will be the first ones to break for those all-important semi-final positions.
And will these crews choose to race out for a top spot or be content just with a top 4 finish? It's all they need to go through to the semis. MLCQ out on the far side. They were the winners of the Head of the Schoolgirls regatta on the Barwon River in Geelong a couple of weeks ago. So it's not surprising to see them out in front. But then a great battle behind them between the Geelong College, Seymour College and Scotch Adelaide as well. And they should all move through, you would think, but the only challenge could well come from Collegiate there in lane 5. So none of these schools, basically. So MLCQ on the far side, only a couple of strokes to go to take out the first heat of the Schoolgirls Coxed 8, and they'll win it by a couple of lengths over there in lane 2, and they do it easily indeed. They don't look too tired after that effort. Second place will go to the Geelong College on lane 6. Third and fourth, very close. Lane 7 will just get it. Scotch Adelaide ahead of Seymour College. So they are the 4 qualifiers through to the semi-finals. Fifth place goes to Collegiate. Sixth is lane 4, Melbourne Girls Grammar School. And 7th is St Hilda's from Western Australia still to complete the course.
Yeah, it was 0.29. What was it? So Queenwood from PLC. All right. Thank you. Yeah.
The unofficial results from race 300. First, MLCQ at a time of 6 minutes 40.7. Second, Geelong College. Third was Scotch College Adelaide. Fourth, Seymour College. Fifth, Collegiate. Sixth, Melbourne Girls Grammar School. And in seventh was St Hilda's from Western Australia. Good time there. We'll move on straight on to race 301. This is the Schoolgirls Coxed 8 Heat 2, and again, the first 4 progress into the semi-finals. In lane 2, we have Walford Anglican School. In lane 3, Melbourne Girls Grammar. In lane 4, St Catherine's School, Victoria. Lane 5, St Hilda's in Western Australia. Lane 6, Loreto Turak. And lane 7, Geelong Grammar.
So a field of 6 in this second heat. 4 to move through to the semi-finals directly, and 2 will miss out. And one crew well back at this stage look to be St Hilda's Western Australia, who are probably out of contention. So 5 chances look like they remain for a spot in the semi-finals. Geelong Grammar over on lane 7 alongside St Catherine's School. That is St Catherine's from Melbourne. There's also, of course, the St Catherine's in Sydney, who are racing a few times at this regatta. But St Catherine's Melbourne in second place. Loreto Turak, also from Melbourne, would be third on lane 6. And that distinctive blue boat you can see there on screen, surrounded by the yellow M-Packers. And Melbourne Girls Grammar School, lane 3, currently hold down the 4th of the qualifying spots. Walford back in 5th place, and St Hilda's would be in 6th. So our top 4 probably sorted themselves out. Geelong Grammar in a very tight battle with St Catherine's and Loreto Turak. A great race, 1st, 2nd and 3rd, but those 3 look like they should all move through. Melbourne Girls Grammar School a length or so further back in 4th, and then Walford Anglican in 5th place. If my memory serves me correctly, actually won this race, won this event a couple of years ago, the school from Adelaide, but some work to do this time around. St Catherine's also were national champions around about 3 years ago in this event, so a great history amongst a couple of these schools here, but Geelong Grammar currently our race leaders alongside Loreto Turak and also St Catherine's.
Yeah, again, a very close race here, Richard. Looks like the first 3 boats are well ahead of 4th place, and it could even be a very tight race for 4th as well.
Yeah, this is where the tactics come into it once again, as we've discussed a bit over the last couple of hours. Once you know you've qualified, do you conserve some petrol and just take it easy, or do you race it all the way down to the line? The top 3, will go through from there. Loreto, St Catherine's and Geelong Grammar, the 3 Victorian schools, and possibly Melbourne Girls Grammar, who'll have to race to make sure they stay ahead of Walford, who are coming home pretty quickly down the outside lane.
Looks like they're going to race to the finish, the first 3 queues for bragging rights for the next round.
3 schools who've seen a lot of each other at regattas in Victoria this season too. They would know each other well. Loreto Turak, St Catherine's and Geelong Grammar stroke for stroke with 50 to go. Loreto Turak maybe just from Geelong Grammar on this side. St Catherine's pushing hard too. It might be lane 4 that gets the win. St Catherine's and Loreto Turak
close
by half a canvas, but lane 4's got it. St Catherine's first, Loreto Turak second, Geelong Grammar in 3rd place. Great racing in the heats of the schoolgirls 8. 4th place and also a spot in the semis goes to Melbourne Girls Grammar School. 5th place then Walford Anglican over the far side, and 6th time will be the lane 5 combination from St Hilda's in Perth.
And the unofficial results for race 301 were in a very quick time. St Catherine's School Victoria 6:44. 2nd were Loreto Turak. 3rd were Geelong Grammar School. 4th Melbourne Girls Grammar School. 5th, Walford Anglican, and 6th, St Hilda's Western Australia. Very good racing there. Good times, certainly for the top 3 boats. We'll move to race 302, Heat 3 of the Schoolgirls Cox State. In lane 2, St Catherine's Victoria. In lane 3, Pimble Ladies. In lane 4, Canberra Grammar School. In lane 5, MLCQ. In lane 6, Genazzano, and in lane 7, Geelong Grammar.
No Canberra Girls Grammar School. It appears a scratching from lane 4. So a field of 5 in Heat 3 of the Schoolgirls Cox State. St Catherine's from Melbourne again over in lane 2. So with 2 entries in this race. Not sure which was the first and which was the second 8, but we'll get a better idea as these crews approach the line. Pimble Ladies over in 3 are doing pretty well. The St Catherine's crew on the far side appears to be well back, so I'd probably think that is their second 8, the first 8 we saw in the close finish of the previous race, but that is just speculation from me at this stage. Then on this side of the course, Genazzano from Melbourne leading MLC from Q, and Geelong Grammar again with 2 entries in this field. They were close in the last race and looking a little bit further back in this one. But with a field of 5, only last place is going to miss out on a spot in the semi-finals.
Yeah, and always strong. Pimble's ladies have taken quite a commanding lead as they come through the 1,500 metre mark. Pimble ladies are leading by at least a length, 2.5 lengths, I see. 10 seconds from Genazzano, followed by MLCQ, who are 3/4 of a boat length behind. Then St. Catherine's School, who are coming in 4th place.
And you're our resident expert on New South Wales, Nathan. In the absence of Owen and Lizzie, the Pimble ladies crew narrowly beaten at the head of the river by Queenwood.
Yeah, they have a great race in the New South Wales head of the river a couple of weeks ago. I think it was less than half a second between Pimble ladies and Queenwood. But a very exciting race. In fact, I think it's the closest margin that's ever been in the girls' first 8.
Yeah, it would have been an incredible race. That was on this course just back on Saturday, so only a few days ago. And Pimble ladies going around again in the heats this time, an event in which they have a very proud history. The Pimble ladies college from here in Sydney, a number of national championships to their name. And this crew here is going to win this heat with barely getting out of 3rd gear. You would think they are looking very comfortable over there in lane number 3. And behind them in 2nd place, Genazzano from MLCQ and Geelong Grammar and St Catherine's fighting out. So 4 Victorian crews here, but one's going to miss out. The Sydney crew will go through comfortably first, and I think it might be Geelong Grammar who have to go via the repechage, but still a few strokes to go for Geelong Grammar and St Catherine's on opposite sides of the course. But look at this win from Pimble Ladies College. They are untroubled by the 2,000 metre journey here. It looks like they've hardly broken a sweat and could probably go round and do it again. So Pimble ladies win the 3rd heat of the schoolgirls Cox Date in fine style indeed. It'll be interesting to compare the times with the couple of heats we've just had. 2nd place goes to lane 6, Genazzano. 3rd then lane 5, MLC School from Q. And 4th will be St Catherine's Melbourne over on the far side. They've got 2 crews through to the semi-finals already. 5th then will be Geelong Grammar. And by my maths, that is the slowest of the 3 heats by a couple of seconds, but unsurprising given the way Pimble ladies controlled the second half of that race.
Yeah, that was quite comfortable for the PLC there, but some good racing for 2nd through to 4th from the Melbourne crews. The unofficial race results for race 302 were first Pimble Ladies College in a time of 6:46.3, Genazzano in 2nd, 3rd were MLCQ, 4th were St Catherine's School in from Victoria, and bringing the back of the field were Geelong Grammar School in 5th. We'll move on now to the next race, race 303. This is heat 1 of the Schoolboys Coxed 8. Again, the first 4 will go through to the semis. Strong field here. In lane 1, Scotch College from Victoria. In lane 2, Hutchins. In lane 4, Brighton Grammar School. In lane 5, Shaw School. In lane 6, Melbourne Grammar School. In lane 7, Wesley College. And in lane 8, Xavier. Could be some very good racing here as they are just off now.
Yes, the Schoolboys Cox Date, always one of the great events of the National Championships, and the competition certainly always heats up when these school events begin. And what a sight there as these 8s are on their way down the 2,000 metre course. A field of 7, so virtually at capacity, and they're on their way in the early strokes. Just each crew trying to get their bow in front as they get off to a quick start. Scotch College from Melbourne, the red colours farthest away from the camera. Lane 2 there, the narrowest of leaders. The crews in 4, 5 and 6, the centre lanes. Brighton Grammar, Shaw and Melbourne Grammar locked together. And Xavier College too have got away well closest to the camera, although probably sitting about half a length or so back, in fact, now. Xavier and Wesley. The action is really Scotch on the far side, plus the crews in the centre of the course.
Yeah, the starting nerves will have dissipated quickly at the buzzer. They'll be off. All the crews all trying to keep it loose now. Loose, but applying maximum pressure. They won't want anybody to get away too quickly. Those crews from Scots College, Brighton Grammar School, Shaw and Melbourne Grammar School will know each other very well, given the racing that they've done over the prior few months. And they'll all want to be keeping very close. Looks like it's going to be a nice race, nice close race up to the 500-metre mark.
Yeah, about to go through there now, so we will get some. In fact, we've got some splits there now. Scotch College through first in 1:24.37, their time over the opening 500 metres, and have a look at those splits there between the top 4 or 5. Brighton Grammar second, just 0.66 behind. Melbourne Grammar third, 0.42 further back. Shaw next, 0.9 off the pace. 1.5 seconds to Hutchins, 1.2 to Xavier, and 1.5 to Wesley College. This is eights racing at its best.
So nobody's gone out with a definite move. So they're all the boats are covered quite closely. We should be in some good racing at the halfway mark. We'll see how the boats are split, but very close so far.
And Scotch College, we mentioned before, they were racing in the fours as well. Scotch won the Melbourne Head of the River on Saturday. They have got 2 crews across these 3 heats, so not sure which is their first 8 and which presumably is a second 8, but by the form of this Scotch crew, this may well be the same crew that won the Victorian Head of the River the other day, beating Brighton Grammar, who are also in this race, sitting a couple of lanes across them in lane 4. So certainly the Victorians are doing well this time around. The Shaw School were the winners of the Sydney Head of the River, who are also in this race.
Yeah, and Scotch have made quite a definite move there, coming up to the 1,000-metre mark. They've eked almost a boat length out from Brighton Grammar. Third sit Melbourne Grammar, and Shaw are sitting in 4th. But again, no more than 4 seconds cover the first 4 boats. Every boat, in fact, is still well in touch there.
Yeah, there's still all overlapping each other, but Scotch College from Melbourne on the far side of the course certainly look to be in a pretty commanding position now. They had 2.53 seconds at the 1,000-metre mark and went through in a time of 2:51.43. So Scotch have just gone out in a clear water now from Brighton Grammar in second place. The top 2 from the Victorian Head of the River, with Melbourne Grammar still there in third ahead of Shaw. Then Hutchins, Wesley College and also Xavier. Top 4 to go through. So the interest in that battle for 4th and 5th place at the moment. The Shaw School lane 5 and Hutchins over in lane 3, the ones who will try and challenge them over the closing 600 or 700 metres of this race.
And Scotch making that move, they look quite comfortable in the closing parts of this race now. Quite a comfortable rate, snapping those knees down together quite nicely. Fast hands around the finish. Look to be in a commanding position as they roll up to the 500 metres to go.
Yeah, just doing exactly what they need to do. Out to about a length and a quarter now, Scotch College, as they come through the 1,500 metre mark comfortably in front. The crew of James Isles, Fraser Miss Campbell, Tom McPhail, Josh Hill, Marcus Emmett, Sam Hobson, James Scott, Marcus Cameron, coxed by Archie Gill, coached by Tom Woodruff, the Scotch College Melbourne crew. 3.69 seconds it was over Brighton Grammar in second place. 3.24 seconds back to Shaw now, the champions of New South Wales, who've moved up into third spot to make sure they comfortably qualify, and they've got about 3 seconds on Melbourne Grammar, who are back in 4th, and in a tight battle with the Hutchins School over in lane 3. That's where the interest lies. Hutchins in 3 against Melbourne Grammar in 6. Scotch still in front, but comfortably so. Brighton Grammar have a good view of this battle for 4th and 5th unfolding either side of them, but Scotch just doing it easy out there on the far side now, just doing enough to remain very, very comfortably in front. Then Brighton Grammar. And then it's Shaw, Melbourne Grammar, almost side by side really in 3rd and 4th. And Hutchins desperately trying to gain some ground here in the closing strokes. They are winding up that Hutchins crew and trying to make sure of a semi-final spot as well. I reckon they've got about half a length or so to make up, but on Shaw and Melbourne Grammar, who hopefully are aware of the danger as these crews charge towards the finish line. The Scotch College crew on the far side is about to get the win comfortably in front. They led it pretty much from the first stroke. The minor placing's interesting. Lane 4, Brighton Grammar should still get second place. Shaw just holding off Melbourne Grammar, and the fast finishing Hutchins crew won't quite get there. So Brighton Grammar second, 3rd goes to Shaw, 4th place to Melbourne Grammar, 5th will be Hutchins, just missing out and going to the repechage instead. 6th place will be the lane 7 combination from Wesley College, and 7th place will go to Xavier on lane 8.
Some great racing there for the 2nd, 3rd, 4th positions. Strong crews. Scotch College quite comfortable. Scotch College finishes first in race 303 with a time of 5:48.8, followed by second Brighton Grammar, 6.88 seconds behind. Third was Shaw from Sydney. Fourth were Melbourne Grammar School. Fifth Hutchins. Sixth Wesley College. And Xavier finish seventh. Close racing there. We move through to the next round of the Schoolboy Coxed 8, race 304. In lane 2, we have St. Peter's College. In lane 3, Geelong Grammar. In lane 4, Geelong College. In lane 5, Scotch Oakburn. Lane 6, Scotch College Adelaide. And in lane 7, Scotch College Victoria.
So the two Geelong schools, both in this race, Geelong Grammar and Geelong College, the great rivals from that part of the world, side by side in lane 3 and 4. But Geelong Grammar have the best of the running in the middle stages. They led the race at halfway ahead of St. Peter's College from Adelaide in lane 2. Then Scotch Melbourne ahead of Scotch Oakburn from Launceston. The Geelong College were in 5th place. Scotch Adelaide are in 6th. So we have Scotch from Melbourne, Scotch Oakburn from Launceston, and also Scotch from Adelaide all in the same race. It's enough to make you thirsty, all those mentions of Scotch at this time of the day, but they all sit a couple of lengths behind, or less than a length behind our leaders from Geelong Grammar and St. Peter's College. Out over on the far side of the course is where the action is happening at this stage. Geelong Grammar by probably just over a second now from St. Peter's College.
Yeah, again, close racing here. Again for second, third and fourth positions. Geelong Grammar, only a nose in front, really. Less than a second behind St. Peter's. Scotch College Victoria, again, less than half a second behind St. Peter's themselves. And Scotch Oakburn, 2 seconds further behind. Geelong College coming in 5th. And at the moment, Scotch College Adelaide, a few boat lengths behind in 6th place.
Scotch College Melbourne have come through strong in that third 500 metres. They won the previous race. So I said I wasn't sure which crew is their first 8 and which presumably is their second 8. But both crews are going to do well and go through to the semis, it would seem. In any case, they're in 3rd place at this stage. Still on the far side, our top 2. Geelong Grammar in lane 3 and St. Peter's Adelaide in lane 2 alongside them. And the interest in the race for 4th and 5th in the centre of the course, it is the Geelong College in lane 4 and Scotch Oakburn in lane 5. The only crew that won't go through will be Scotch Adelaide. They'll have to go to the repechage in lane 6.
The angle's deceptive, but I think there's been some, certainly the Coxes will have been calling to wind the rate up. I think this will be close. Scotch College Victoria have made a move. St. Peter's are still, I think, in 2nd place. And Geelong Grammar are still in contention as well, but it's going to be very close.
And they're really racing for it too. Geelong Grammar have gone for a big lift. St. Peter's alongside them, pushing him. Scotch Melbourne on this side. And the interest really in those middle 2 lanes are Scotch Oakburn and the Geelong College. One of those 2 crews will miss out on a spot in the semi-finals. Certainly on the far side, St. Peter's and Geelong Grammar will be the top 2. Scotch Melbourne should finish 3rd. And the Geelong College is getting the best of the battle for 3rd and 4th here, I think. Have a look at this race for first still. St. Peter's and Geelong Grammar both will go through. It'll come down to the last stroke and Geelong Grammar get it in. Geelong Grammar win it just from St. Peter's. 3rd goes to Scotch Melbourne on this side. 4th will be lane 4, the all-important 4th spot to the Geelong College. 5th place then Scotch Oakburn, and 6th will be Scotch College Adelaide. Very close for 1st and 2nd. They were both guaranteed progression. The screen says a photo, but I'm saying it was Geelong Grammar, although I stand to be corrected.
I'm not going to call that. I thought that was very close. That all came down to where each individual boat were in the cycle, whether at the catch or the finish. The boat speeds obviously change. The boat velocity changes as they go through that catch. Obviously, it's quicker at the end of the finish of the stroke than it is as you're waiting. And there's the results. The unofficial results are first, Geelong Grammar with a time of 6:01, followed by St. Peter's College, which were 0.13 second behind. 3rd, Scotch College Victoria, which themselves were just over a second behind. 4th, Geelong College. 5th, Scotch Oakburn. And 6th, Scotch College in Adelaide. Closest race that I've seen this afternoon.
And incredibly, 13 seconds slower than the previous heat, despite the way those crews raced to the line. But in any case, on to Heat 3, which is well and truly on its way down the course.
Yep, race 305, Heat 3 of the Schoolboys Coxed 8. In lane 2, Christchurch. In lane 3, Trinity Grammar Victoria. In lane 4, Christchurch. In lane 5, St Joseph's, New South Wales. In lane 6, Geelong Grammar. And in lane 7, the boat from Brisbane, Nudgee. And who have we got first? Coming through 1,000 metres, we have Nudgee out in first, very closely followed by by Christchurch, with a 3-second lead on St Joseph's. Christchurch, the second boat in there, is fourth. Fifth is Geelong Grammar, and sixth in lane 3 is Trinity Grammar Victoria. But Nudgee and Christchurch are very closely matched stroke for stroke. Nudgee in lane 7 and Christchurch in lane 2. Nudgee, the distinctive blue boat, are the nearest side of the course. Blue boat, and I think it's white blades and white caps. Very close here, stroke for stroke between Nudgee and Christchurch.
And this is, I've seen a bit of this Nudgee College crew this year. They had a very successful and undefeated season, in fact, up in Queensland. And this is the closest anyone's been to Nudgee College in quite some time. The John Bowes coach crew in the blue boat on this side of the course, and Christchurch on the far side. I was just desperately Googling there to make sure that I had it right. Christchurch Grammar School from Melbourne, it would appear. And they are sitting in a very good battle with Nudgee for the lead here as they come through the 1750 metre mark. It's hard to separate this. It's hard to line these two up where they're that far apart. Also with their St Joseph, New South Wales, the red colour. The red colours there in third place. And the second of the Christchurch crews will come through in fourth. So our semi-finalists have been decided. But the interest is in these two crews on opposite sides. Nudgee College in the blue, Christchurch in the yellow over on the far side. These two crews are flying towards the line as they come inside the final 100 metres now. The Christchurch crew on the far side may have a narrow margin over Nudgee College on this side. Are they going to race it right out to the line as they look to secure their spot in the semi-finals? Christchurch leads Nudgee still by around about a third of a length, a quarter of a length less than that. It's about a canvas as they cross the line, but Christchurch does get the win. So lane 2 it is in first place. Second position goes to Nudgee College. Third, lane 5, the crew from St Joseph's. Fourth will be the second of the Christchurch crews in lane 4. Fifth place, Geelong Grammar, who'll have to go to the repechage, and sixth will be Trinity Grammar from Victoria.
Yeah, some good racing there. The first two boats. I thought there was a bit of gamesmanship in the last 500 metres where nobody wanted to make the move. I think they were both quite comfortable to finish first and second, but St Joseph's coming on strong for third position. So the unofficial race results for race 305. First, Christchurch in a time of 5:58.03. Second, Nudgee. Third, St Joseph's, New South Wales. Fourth, Christchurch. Fifth, Geelong Grammar. And sixth, Trinity Grammar Victoria. We come to the third last race of the day. This is the Club Women's Double Scull. Race 306, Heat 1. Again, the first four progress through to the semi-finals. We have in lane 1, Fremantle. In lane 2, Corowa. In lane 3, Canberra. In lane 4, LOS and CRC. In lane 5, ANU. In lane 6, Brisbane and GPS. And in lane 7, Brisbane and GPS. And in lane 8, Commercial.
Just wrapping up those heats of the Schoolboys Coxed 8-2. The time in the third heat there, 5:58.19, was 10 seconds slower than so Heat 1 by far the fastest. Scotch Melbourne by more than 10 seconds, the fastest crew through to the semi-finals, if we are going to infer anything from those times. We move from the excitement of the school racing now to the club events to conclude day 4 of the 2019 Aon Sydney International Rowing Regatta.
And apologies, ladies and gentlemen. This is race 306. This has been a redraw here. I will give you the Lane entries again now. In lane 2, we have Corowa, Underwood, both the Underwood, Julie and Amy Underwood. In lane 3, we have Swan River, Noonan and O'Callaghan. Lane 4, we have Brisbane and GPS, Champion and Turner. Lane 5, we have Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise, Mansell, Bitsios. Lane 6, we have Brisbane and GPS, Morris and Morgan McDonald. Lane 7, we have Mossman, Mason and Disney. And in lane 8, ANU, Ming and Chen.
Yes, a redraw of this event. I think they may have gone from 4 heats down to 3, or at least there's been some withdrawals. So in any case, there are 3 heats. The top 4 from each heat will move through to the semi-final, and the remainder to the repechage. This is the first of our club events at these championships so far. This is a new category that was brought in only a few years ago for those athletes and not aspiring necessarily to national selection and having not been on a national team in recent years. So some competition for those just below the elite level of rowing, and it's being led narrowly here by the Mossman combination of Lucy Mason and Eleanor Disney in lane 7. Ahead then of Corowa over on the far side, lane 2, Julie Underwood and Amy Underwood. Mentioned before, of course, the Corowa school from Melbourne is Corowa with a K. This is Corowa with a C. That's down in southern New South Wales, very close to the Victorian border, which means they often compete in regattas in Victoria as well, which can lead to great confusion with Corowa with a C and Corowa with a K in the same races. But they are looking to be our top 2 at this stage, at least, Corowa and the Mossman combination.
And it looks like the first 4 boats, it's almost that kind of tacit agreement. Nobody really wants to make their move. They're quite happy to sit in these positions now. I'm assuming through to the finals. They'll sit comfortably in the top 4. The first 4 go through to the semis. And they'll all watch with some comfort as they go through the line, come up to the 100-metre mark now. I think Mossman looked to be slightly in the lead in lane 7, followed by Corowa in lane 2. Third looks like to be Griffith Uni with Swan in the top 4. Quite a comfortable race for these top 4 positioned boats.
Yeah, close certainly between the top 2 as they enter the red buoys the last 100 metres, Mossman and Corowa. And close for third, Griffith University Surfers Paradise, Jade Mansell and Monique Bitsios, and Swan River's Vivian Noonan and Elizabeth O'Callaghan. Swan River probably now up into third ahead of Griffith University Surfers Paradise. But as Nathan said, all 4 will comfortably go through to the semis ahead of the 2 combinations from the Brisbane and GPS Rowing Club. So the race won on the far side by Corowa, Julie and Amy Underwood. Second place then beneath us here in lane 7, the Mossman combination. Third will go to lane 3 from Swan River, and fourth, lane 5 at Griffith University Surfers Paradise. There's our top 4 crews to go to the semi-finals. Very close between these 2 Brisbane and GPS doubles, but it will go to lane 6, Kate Morris and Alexandria Morgan McDonald ahead of lane 4, Amelia Champion and Jordan Turner. And 1 crew still to come home from the Australian National University in lane 8, Li Ming, Megan Chen and Ella Andraina Benyamina.
Yes, some good racing there. The unofficial results for race 306, the redrawn club women's double sculls, were in first place Corowa, in second place Mossman, in third place Swan River, fourth place Griffith University Surfers Paradise, fifth Brisbane GPS, sixth Brisbane and GPS, and in seventh ANU. Corowa won that with a time of 7 minutes 43 seconds. Moving swiftly on to race 307, again a redrawn race. Heat 2 of the club women's double sculls. In lane 2 we have Pine Rivers. In lane 3 we have Brisbane and GPS. In lane 4 we have Sydney University. Banks in lane 5. In lane 6 Commercial. Fremantle in 7 and Commercial in lane 8.
So the second heat of 3 in the club women's double scull. It is the penultimate race of day 4 of the 2019 Aon Sydney International Rowing Regatta. And the comfortable leader there in the centre of the course looks to be In fact, it's Pine Rivers over the far side who are leading the race. Lane 2, Pine Rivers, Gracie Wasson and Kiara Stafford, coached by Alan Borger. Almost had a shot there for a while, but you can see them now there comfortably ahead of Banks with a clear water lead. Banks in lane 5, there in second place. That's Bianca Litchfield and Jean Mitchell. And then over to this side, lanes 7 and 8, in fact, would be sitting 3rd and 4th. Caridwen Ellis of Fremantle, along with Tanami Ashby Deering, and Commercials Bronte Cathcart and Eloise Young in 4th place.
And again, in these heats, with so many people going through the semi-final, a lot of the real racing in the boat is done in the first half of the race. After the start, you'll settle down, you'll take a look around and see and assess your position, and then you'll start to play the game of chess. Whether you're in those positions for the semi-final, you don't want to work too hard. Whether you want bragging rights or good times for the semi-finals, or whether you've got to make up some ground to get into those positions. So a lot of the racing will have been done in the first half of the race here. Again, we're seeing the top 4 boats quite comfortably out in the lead, taking things quite easy. Nobody really putting the foot down above anybody else. All crews looking to be chopping along quite nicely.
Just the Commercial crew on this side getting a bit close to the boys on their bow side. That's the crew in the grandstand lane, but they look to have just moved out of danger there. So still sitting comfortably in 4th place, Commercial lane 8, ahead of Commercial in lane 6. The top 4 to go through to the semi-finals in the club women's double scull. Second heat of 3. Pine Rivers over the far side will get the race win in a few strokes' time. Banks from Melbourne in the middle of the course, still holding off Fremantle and Commercial, and they will almost certainly be our top 4 as the Pine Rivers crew comes across and takes the win on lane 2. Gracie Wasson and Kiara Stafford first, coached by Alan Borger. Banks have stopped a couple of strokes early, but they go again and get up by about a 1/3 of a length in the end. So Banks second. Fremantle will be 3rd. 4th place, Commercial lane 8. That's Cathcart and Young, who'll go through to the semis. 5th place, also Commercial lane 6. Saggers and Townsend will have to race in the repechage, as will lane 4, Sydney University, who'll finish in 6th, and Brisbane and GPS lane 3 will finish in 7th place. Charlotte Morris and Madeline Butler in race 307, and the last race on the course as well.
Yeah, the unofficial results for the penultimate race of the day, race 307, the club women's double scull. In first place, Pine Rivers with a time of 7 minutes 51.09. Second place were Banks, stopped a few metres short from the finish. 3rd place, Fremantle. 4th, Commercial. 5th, in lane 6, Commercial. 6th place, Sydney University. And in 7th place, Brisbane and GPS. And we'll move to the final race of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Race 308, Heat 3 of the Club Women's Double Sculls. In lane 2, we have Australian Defence Force Rowing. In lane 3, we have Canberra. In lane 4, Barwon. In lane 5, Melbourne. In lane 6, LOS and CRC. And in lane 7, Sydney University. And coming through the 1,500 metre mark, in lane 5, the Melbourne crew have got a very commanding lead, over 6 seconds behind the second place boat Barwon in lane 4. 3rd place is the Australian Defence Force in lane 2.
The other great thing about these club events, Nathan, is that there are no composite crews allowed to enter, so it certainly makes it much easier for us from a commentary perspective to just have the one club name involved. And the Melbourne Rowing Club leading the Barwon Rowing Club here, Australian Defence Force Rowing in 3rd. And it's the Loretto Old Scholars and Community Rowing Club, I believe, that lane 6 combination based in Adelaide. But the race being led by Melbourne's Tanya Nishabata and Zoe Gamble fairly comfortably from Mariana Maydar and Maxine Rice of Barwon. Australian Defence Force Rowing, Elizabeth Stevens and Rachel Noonan on the far side. And a pretty good battle between that Loretto Old Scholars crew on this side, along with Sydney University. So Hannah Sexton and Karis Jones for LOS, and Alina Parrish and Emma Jalalati for Sydney Uni.
Yes, nice to see one of my old boat clubs leading this race here, although there are several old boat clubs of mine that have raced today.
It's good to have plenty of options for someone to support, and The Melbourne Rowing Club here leading very comfortably now inside this final 100 metres. The race for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th might be interesting. Only 4 to go through to the semis. You can write down the 1 now beside Melbourne Lane 5. We'll give that to them. But ADF Rowing and also Barwon, Loretto Old Scholars and Sydney Uni finishing quickly down lane 7 as well. Canberra have been left back in 6th place, but a line of 4 across the course. ADF Rowing and Barwon probably just 2nd and 3rd. Sydney Uni have come over the top of Loretto Old Scholars in the closing strokes. It'll be the 2 on the far side first. ADF Rowing and then Barwon, and then I reckon it was lane 7, Sydney Uni in 4th place ahead of the Loretto Old Scholars. And that is indeed the way it has come up here. That's not correct on screen as far as Canberra are concerned, possibly, but or maybe it is in fact. Melbourne first, Australian Defence Force Rowing in 2nd place, and yeah, that's more like it now. That's as we thought it was. Melbourne Rowing Club, Australian Defence Force Rowing. Barwon snatched 3rd from Sydney Uni, who just pushed Loretto Old Scholars back into 5th place, and a trip to the Rapid Charge in Canberra finished in 6th place. So top 4 through to the semis, and the remainder to the Rapid Charge.